A lot of you guys wanted to know my thoughts on the new Halloween trailer that dropped on Friday, and I'm more than happy to talk about that here for a few minutes. Danny McBride, Kenny Powers, Eastbound and Down fame. He was a writer on the new movie. He's not directing it, but this is, in a lot of ways, this is his movie. He had a hand in writing the screenplay. John Carpenter, who was the mastermind behind the original Halloween, him and Deborah Hill back in 1978. He's back. He is scoring the film. Now, that beat, that sort of piano beat, the eerie piano beat music you remember from the original Halloween, that was Carpenter. And he's told that story. I think his father taught him how to compose, and it's a very simple beat, but it's like the eeriest song in the world. So they're bringing him back to score the new film, and that's apparent right away. If you watch the trailer, it dropped on Friday. Listen to the music. It's like the same music from the original, which is really cool. I want it to be or sound like, if it isn't actually the music from the original. So as far as the movie itself, it was about, was it 2 minutes and 45 seconds, this trailer. I always worry that in these trailers they give away too much. Hopefully they didn't give away all the good scenes in the trailer. I think actually it was probably a mistake to include that last scene, the closet scene, and if you watch it you'll know what I'm talking about. That would have been a great, like a great jump scare going to the theater to see the movie. But even that, the idea of like a jump scare, there's obviously a lot of blood and probably gore in this movie. And, I will say one of the things I loved and one of the great things about the original Halloween, it is not a gory movie. It was an independently made film. It was an independent movie that ended up making like $50 million. And obviously it spawned all of these additional sequels and prequels and reboots. But the original movie in 1978 was not a bloody film. It was not a gory film. I don't know that there was any blood. Now that I think about it, there may not have been. If there was, very little, maybe in like one scene. There was basically no blood, let alone gore and guts, in the original Halloween. It was all based on fear. It was fear of the unknown. We never found out why Michael Myers did what he did. We never found out why Michael Myers, as a 6-year-old, stabbed his sister to death, let alone why he was going after Laurie Strode. And it wasn't until later on that they introduced in the sequel, which Carpenter didn't even want to do, it wasn't until then that he introduced this idea that, Michael was Laurie's sister. That was not in the original movie. And in fact, that's not in this movie either. They poked fun at that in the trailer. They have Jamie Lee Curtis is back, which is why people, I think, are so excited about this. And obviously she's a lot older now. She's a grandmother. Her daughter is played, whoever her daughter is played by, there's a scene where she's walking home from school with her friends and they're like, "Hey, Michael Myers, isn't he related to your mom?" And she's like, "No, that was like an urban legend." So they kind of poke fun at it. That part of the canon came in the sequel. But the original was based on this idea of fear of the unknown, where, like I said, we don't know why Michael did what he did. They call him the Shape. You don't see too much of him in the movie either. You don't see his face until the very end. And what's interesting about that is when he's unmasked late in the first movie, you don't know what to expect, right? You're expecting, oh, this guy's going to be ugly. He's going to have like boils all over his face or be hideously disfigured. He's not. He's just a regular person. Now, there's something wrong with the eye. I remember that. Like they did something with the makeup where it made it look like maybe his eye was kind of, or eyelid was disfigured, but for the most part, he looked like a normal person, which is also kind of unnerving if you think about it, right? He's not some mutant. He's not some weird creature. He's a regular human being. And so they don't give away too much in that first movie. Now, all of these horror movies and the slasher movies, you see everything. And you see it from the opening scene. And the killer, you get to see what they look like. You get to see their face a lot, probably more than you should. But you get all the different jump scares and you get all the, blood and guts and gore. And look, I like the original Saw movie. I liked that movie. I thought it was a good movie. I thought the big twist at the end is just one of the great twists that I didn't see coming. And then every other subsequent Saw movie, it's just, they call it torture porn, which is really what it is. And it was just them trying to come up with creative ways that they could kill people and try to spill as much blood as possible. I don't know. The original Halloween movie, I liked it just the way it was. I think it's harder to make a horror movie like that now because people expect all that other stuff. We'll see how much of that is in the new movie. I think that's something that this movie will probably have a lot of. We saw some of it in the trailer. Um, and whatever. I mean, that's fine. That's just, look, it's just the way horror films are now, I guess. But for the most part, I liked what I saw in that trailer. It really evoked, memories and feelings of the original. It won't have that same older, sort of gritty 1978 look. I mean, it's 2018 for crying out loud. So I get that. But I think they're trying to stay as true as possible to that original. This is a direct sequel. So what they're doing here is they are ignoring every single movie that came after the original, including part 2, which was supposed to pick up from that very night. Never happened. Part 3 didn't have anything to do with Michael Myers anyway. And I love that movie, by the way. If you've sort of cast part 3 aside, oh, it's not Michael, it's not a real Halloween movie, do yourself a favor and watch Season of the Witch. It's actually really good as its own sort of standalone horror film. But yeah, they're ignoring everything. Part 4, Part 5, which had Danielle Harris in there, who was very upset and very bummed that she was not invited to be back as part of this new Halloween movie. And I am too, to be honest with you. I think she should have been in this movie as Jamie Lee Curtis's sister. Or, I'm sorry, not her sister, God. Her much younger sister. No, her daughter. I think it would have been cool because she was a big part of those later Halloween films. But they didn't bring her back for whatever reason. But yeah, so you got to ignore every single Michael Myers film that came after the original because that's the approach they took with this movie. I know it can be confusing, but I'm excited. I really am. I'm very excited to see this movie. It comes out October, I think it was the 19th, I think. It comes out right before Halloween this year. I thought the trailer was pretty sick. And the mask is on point. The Shatner mask, it's obviously withered and older and beat up. But some of the masks that they've used for Michael in these other movies have not been good, to say the least. So even right down to the mask, I think that they've done a good job with this. I know it's only a trailer; it's hard to tell, but we'll see what kind of a horror writer Danny McBride is when this movie comes out. But I thought the trailer was great. I can't wait to see it.